to get into tech without writing line of code. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen now. How to get into tech without writing a single line of code. Now, just before we start this session, I want us to take a moment to invite people we think might benefit from this session in any way. So if you know a colleague of yours that has been trying to get into tech but doesn't want to code, your wife, your husband, your friend, your sister, your niece, your nephew, just try to invite them to the call. Take a minute to share the link to this session with them because it's going to be a wonderful session. All right. So I have quite a lot to share with us today, but, just before we do that, I also want to know, people on this call that have been in masterclasses, like this before. So if this is your first time in a masterclass just like this one, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. But if you've been in, multiple masterclasses, you can put any number. So go ahead. If this is your first masterclass, okay. I see Oreolua. Oreolua says 1. Welcome. Welcome, Ore. So I see, Eniton says 2. Okay. Tunji says 1. Fantastic. All right. Welcome. Welcome. Fresh thoughts. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to, just go ahead to introduce myself in a bit. But before I do that, I also want to get to know you first. All right, so please put your name and where you're joining us from in the chat box. So for example, Elizabeth, UK, Elizabeth, Canada, put your name and where you're joining us from in the chat box. Let's get to know, the people that we have on this call from the different regions. Oreolua, Lagos, Nigeria, and it's on Nigeria, welcome. Tunji, Nigeria, welcome. Okay, one more person, and then we get right into it. One more person. All right, Aderoju, UK, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so let's, kickstart this session with an introduction. Who are we at 10Analytics and how do we do what we do? Now, 10Analytics is a leading educational technology company that is focused on providing specialized training in technology skills and also delivering comprehensive data consulting services. Now, with almost 5 years, we have spent this, past almost 5 years building talent for the technology workforce. And we have helped over 3,000 people transition from the classroom. Now, 3,000 professionals such as yourself with zero experience in tech transition from the classroom into their very first tech job, across the UK, US, Canada, Europe, Africa, and also Asia. Now, we are committed to making the technology sector more accessible, right, for people of the minority group, people of the Black community, right, by providing premium training in data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, Agile project management, and Scrum Master Professional, which is why we're here today, cybersecurity, and finally, AI engineering. Now, we have a wonderful, wonderful team of instructors from leading global companies like Apple, Microsoft, McKinsey, Amazon, PwC, and so on and so forth. And these instructors bring a wealth of real-world experience and are dedicated to delivering an engaging practical learning experience just to make sure that you receive the maximum value from your investment with us in the future. So who's this person that has been speaking to you for the past 4 minutes? Who is your host? My name is Elizabeth Nana, and I am a product manager and senior agile project manager here at 10Analytics. And I have half a decade of experience in both product and project management. So I act as a coach for agile teams, and I've consistently been able to drive impactful results, if I do say so myself. All right, I have successfully guided over 1,000 individuals with no prior agile experience into making a smooth transition into project management. My experience also spans across multiple sectors like health tech, financial technology, and also educational technology, which is where we are today. And I've been able to just apply my deep knowledge of agile methodologies. Now, drum roll, please. We have a wonderful facilitator with us here today that is going to be taking us through the session in the person of Moses Joshua. Now, Moses Joshua is a senior agile associate at 10Analytics with years of experience in project management and a passion for organizing teams to drive and deliver impactful projects. So you see, here at 10Analytics, we don't just bring people from random backgrounds. We make sure that all our facilitators all our associates, all our project managers are well seasoned individuals with wealth of experience that they can share with you. Now, throughout Moses' career, he has led cross-functional teams, he has refined processes, and he has also applied his expertise across the tech sector, by leveraging agile methodologies. Moses is committed to continuous learning and career growth, and he eagerly shares his insights to help others navigate their professional journeys. All right, others such as yourself, just sharing insights to help you, just know the first thing you need to do if you're trying to break into tech and you're running away from, coding or any technical aspect. So what are we going to be doing today? First off, Moses is going to take us through the fundamentals of Agile project and Scrum Master. What does it take to be an Agile project manager or a Scrum Master? Then we're going to go through an introduction to Jira. I'm going to share the 10 Analytics strategic plan to help you secure a job in 2025. And finally, our special discount offer with you. So if you stay with us till the end of the session, you will get access to the slides and also the recording of the session. So during the course of the session, my colleagues will be dropping a link to the attendance form in the chat box. So please ensure that you fill this link with your details, because this is how we are going to be able to, send this recording and the slide across to you. So make sure you put your email address in there, and, you will get the recording and also the slide that is used for this session. All right. Hi, Moses. Are you there?
Hello, Elizabeth. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm good, not bad. Hope
All
you're
right.
having a lovely day.
Yes, I am. So, Moses, I'm going to
All
be
right.
handing over to you. I want you to share your expertise with the people on the call today.
All right. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And nice to be on the call today. So just give me a minute to share my screen. All right. All right. So I welcome everyone to the call today. My name is Moses Joshua once again, and nice to have everyone on the call. All right. So the question for today, why tech and why now? So before we jump right into it, right, I want to first of all congratulate every one of us for basically being on the call today, for taking the initiative to actually join. This means that a lot of us wants to move into tech, right? But we might be scared of one or two things, probably the coding aspect of tech or the technicalities when it comes to designs and building dashboards and all that, right? And you decided to you saw this post and you said, oh, no code for tech. Wow, that's nice. And you guys came in, right? So one thing I would like to know from us today, you guys can just put it in the chat, is why do you guys want to join tech? I just want one or two answers from you guys before I move on. Why tech? Why do you guys want to move into tech, or why do you want to transition into tech? So I'll be in the chats waiting for answers. Okay, so all right, so and it's sorry. Okay, so I'm trying to check the chats now. So anyone? Okay. All right, so we have people putting it in the chat for comfort and to stay relevant. That's good. That's from Aurel Lua. Thank you very much, Aurel. Who else? All right, while we wait for that, right? Okay, it's cool being a techie. That's really good. I love that, Olatunji. All right, that's great. Thank you very much, guys. Also, it's really cool being a techie, right? And it's comfortable. We have a lot of people around us. When tech first of all started, right? There are a lot of people saying, "Oh, tech, what's tech? Please, I want a 9 to 5 job. I don't want anything relating to tech. Nah, 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 I don't want that." Right? But as time goes on, we start having a lot of people showing interest in tech. And this is where the industry growth comes in, right? The tech sector expand by 5.3% in 2023. That means a lot of tech initiatives start coming up, especially during the COVID period, right? You see that a lot of people are home, nobody's going to work and all that. Everyone is confused. So people that already have the knowledge about tech, right? They were already working from home and they were making something about for themselves, right? But for people that don't really have anything that goes 9 to 5, they felt like, oh, there's nothing to do, right? So everyone was confused at that moment. So everyone start looking for other ways. That's when tech started coming to people's head and people started saying tech this, tech that, a lot of tech, right? So that is when it started coming, it started making wave, and it has been increasing from then up till now. And we are even moving faster, right? We are moving from the world of tech now to world of AI. People are now learning AI, right? So when it comes to tech, right, there are diverse roles in tech. That's the same thing I said earlier on, right? That's probably you guys might have it in mind. Oh, this why I want to be a techie. I want to join tech community. I want to be able to work remotely and all that. You guys must have been having this knowledge. But when they tell you that, oh, as a tech, you have to learn coding, probably Python, JavaScript, you have to learn a form of coding, or you have to be able to design different templates. You have to be able to design different interface and all that, right? There's a lot of things that you want to learn and go through materials and all that, right? So, but now project management has made it easier, right? 40% of tech jobs are non-coding or hybrid position, right? And that is where project management comes in. And you guys might be thinking, oh, project management has been in existence all this while. Why now? Why now? Why is project management now part of tech? And this is where the agile part comes in, right? You see that tech now, project management is now being in high demand. There are a lot of people looking for project managers to come into their organization to help them. And what is the reason why? This is just simply saying the only reason or the major reason why is because most company wants to go agile. They want to go the agile way. You guys must be hearing, oh, we don't want to go through the process of doing all this long process, right? They want to go the agile way, right? So what processes were they using before? Before agile comes in, they were using the traditional method, which is the waterfall process, whereby everyone knows their job. They just do it systematically. No one, it's just a linear path. Everyone is just going through that path, right? But Agile has made it very easy. Project management is crucial for 87% of Agile companies, right? So any company that is trying to transition from their normal traditional methods they were using before onto Agile, they will need a project manager, an Agile project manager, right? For driving global digital transformation. Now we've been talking. I want to ask you guys, right? When you hear the word agile, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? You guys can put it in the chat. When you hear agile, like your normal English, when you hear agile, what does it mean? What comes to your mind first? Active, nice, flexibility, light. That's great. We have a lot of options, right? When you hear agile, it makes swift, flexible, you're active, always on the move, ready to go. You get to this top, you make your impact, you move on to the next, no time to waste, right? You don't need to go through all the process. That is why we now incorporate agile into project management because we want our project management, we want to make um businesses, companies, we want to make their processes smooth, we want to make it flexible for them. We want to make it in such a way that oh they can easily work in iterations, right? This is where agile comes in. And what is agile in project management? Agile is a flexible, iterative approach to project development with an 87% adoption rate across industry. What does this simply means? Let's break it down step by step. Well, first of all, say agile is flexible. And we know why it is flexible because the word agile basically means flexible. Now let's add a little bit of project management terms to it. That is where iterative comes in. Iterative simply means stage by stage. You are doing it step by step, right? You are taking it one phase at a time, right? So iterative approach to project management with 87% adoption rate. That means a lot of people are taking in this initiative because they want to work the agile way. They want to work the flexible way, right? They want to be able to make impact for each phase they complete. They want to be able to say, okay, we're done with this phase. Let's move to the next, right? They are flexible. They can work on this phase of the project and say, okay, let's move on to the next, and it will not affect each other, right? That's simply what agile means. Everyone wants to be flexible. Now, when it comes to agile, right, we have different framework. Agile is just the word. Now, how do we perform this agile? That's where the framework comes in, right? So we have several different types of frameworks that is used in agile project management. We have several frameworks. And this includes the Scrum. I don't know if you guys have heard. Scrum is basically written everywhere. Scrum framework. You guys must have heard of it. We have the Kanban framework. We have the Lean. We have the SP. So we have several frameworks, right? But what we'll be focusing on today is what? The Scrum framework. And why are we focusing on it? Because 55% of organization basically use the agile, basically use the Scrum framework for in their organizations, right? So it is the most commonly used when it comes to tech companies, when it comes to organization, right? Because it's easy to use, right? And it's good to use. So what is Scrum? Scrum is a leading framework for agile team, currently used by 55% of organizations. And then it provides a structure yet adaptable process for managing complex projects. So now let's break this down. So first of all, talk about agile. What makes agile easy? So I'll use a simple scenario, right? You want to make a website, basically. You want to make a website. Probably let's use WhatsApp. Let's use WhatsApp because WhatsApp is the easiest, right? Is the most commonly used app. Everyone knows WhatsApp. So imagine when WhatsApp first started, what was WhatsApp doing? It was basically chat with the people that you have their numbers, right? You chat with them, you guys just converse. There's nothing like viewing status, there's nothing like adding songs to your status, there's nothing like tagging people to your status. There's nothing like that there, right? So it was basically for chatting. Chat this, send me a message, I'll send you a message. That's what it means, right? So when I'm talking of agile in that process, it simply means push out the one you have first. The one that is completed, that first phase that is completed, as long as it is usable. And when it comes to agile, each of the sprints is usable. Right? It has to be usable. So when they first started, they first of all build an app. Oh, let us first of all build a chatting app. We already know our goal, but first of all, let's just build a chatting app. Reason being that they want to be in the community, they want to be in the face of everyone, right? So imagine that WhatsApp now say, oh, let us don't launch first. Let us first of all make all these additions. Let's first of all add everything before we launch. By now, WhatsApp will not even be out at all. Because of if you say you want to keep waiting, there are a lot of things also coming up, right? If they say, oh, let us wait to add status to watch status, right? If they wait for that one and fix that one, AI comes in, meta AI. Oh, let us wait to add meta. You keep waiting and waiting. Eventually, someone else will just put out the project outside. And this is why Agile is very important, iteratively and incrementally. Thank you very much. All right, so this is why Agile is important, right? They work in a smaller phase. They've divided the project into smaller bits. So WhatsApp decided to say, oh, first of all, let's launch the chatting app. Let's first of all start using that. Let people use that, get to know us. Let us be out there first as we are thinking of the next phase, the next sprint to work on. So as that one is out there, people are using, they start working on the next feature. Oh, what feature can we add again? They decide to say, oh, what's it called? Let's add the chatting status feature, right? Let them be able to view status and all that. So they started working on that. And immediately they are done, they pushed it out there. And the next thing WhatsApp will tell you is that, WhatsApp will tell you there's an updated version. Please go and update your WhatsApp. That means they pushed out a new feature. They want you to go and test it. And that's how they keep doing it incrementally, iteratively. They keep doing it. So it was a complex project that they broke down into smaller bits, and they were able to manage each of the projects, and they are pushing it incrementally. Before the end of this year, or before the starting of next year, you would have seen that they've released another feature. They will always do that, and they'll be the first person to test it. Most times, if you see WhatsApp will just send you a message, or you see them on your status view, where you view your status, you'll see them there at the top. And if you click on it, they are showing you the new feature that just added on the WhatsApp. There's some feature that you might not even notice at all, right? You will not notice until they now tell you, now say, oh, this feature is not included, and you start using it. I think now they added ads. You can now do ads on WhatsApp. You can now do ads on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is evolving, right? As our environment is evolving, so is WhatsApp. Every organization wants to evolve with it. So you have to work incrementally, work iteratively, which is step. And that is why Scrum is used. Scrum framework is basically used. Now, let's move to Scrum Master. Who is a Scrum Master, right? Who is it? We've talked about Scrum, right? We've talked about Agile. So now, who is a Scrum Master? So, in simple terms, a Scrum Master facilitates the team. A Scrum Master facilitates the team, remove impediments, and coaches for optimal performance. What does it simply mean? It simply means that this is the Scrum Master that makes sure everything goes according to plan, right? He manages the team. Oh, where are we at? He makes sure he's in charge. Oh, where are we at? Where have we gotten to? Are you guys going well? Is there any blockage anywhere? So if there are bottlenecks along the way, the Scrum Master will be able to look for ways to make sure the bottleneck is cleared. And when we say bottleneck, all these are just terminologies in project management. So I'll try to break it down as much as possible. When we say bottleneck, it means when lots of tasks are being choked up in the project, right? It's not moving forward and everything is just stopped. That is what bottleneck is. So now the Scrum Master makes sure that every project is going well. He checks out for everyone. Oh, your team, how is it going? Is the project moving well? He checks out the well-being of every single one. And this is where they said, and this is why they said they are servant, they have the servant leaders role. What does it simply mean? They are the leaders, but they prioritize everyone, they prioritize everyone's health, everyone's work more than theirs, right? They are more concerned about what you are doing, how you are doing, basically, because of they know that you guys, probably the developers, the designers, they are the ones working on the project. So you have to always check on them. Oh, how is it going? Be there to motivate them. So the Scrum Master is always there to do all that. Now let's move to some of the essential skills for a Scrum Master. Now we've said before that, we've said earlier on that this is a no-code tech, right? So if I ask you guys, and I've explained what a Scrum Master does to you guys. So if I ask you, what are the essential skills of a Scrum Master? Can I have some answers? Who wants to give it a try? What are some of the essential skills of a Scrum Master? Multitasking, that's great. Aurelia, thank you very much. So who else? What are some communication? That's very nice. Fumilayo, leadership. Anything. Thank you. We have empathy. We have attention to details, management, leadership. Great answers. Thank you very much, guys. I see you guys are following me. That's great. So all these are essential skills of a Scrum Master. So now let's look at them one after the other. The first one we have is what? Communication. And I think one person already mentioned that it is one of the key things when it comes to it. We have to be able to talk, communicate, see from their perspective, oh, how is it doing? You don't, as a Scrum Master, as a project manager, you don't boss around. That's why they call it servant leader, right? They make sure that, oh, everyone is at the top, right? They facilitate key meetings like daily Scrum, and sprint reviews, ensuring clear communication in flow, right? So they make sure everyone understands what they are supposed to do, right? They call meetings every day. Oh, our meetings for this project is gonna be every day by 9 a.m., right? We are going to be coming for daily scrum. We are going to be coming to daily scrum, right? So this is the meeting they do every day to make sure everyone is aligned with their taxes, what they are supposed to do, what they are doing, basically. This is where the daily scrum comes in. And they will now do what's called sprint review. Sprint review is basically done after after a sprint is completed. That is when they do the sprint reviews, and the scrum master will be there, the stakeholders will be there, the teams will be there, and what is done in sprint reviews, we'll just discuss how was the project, what happened, is there any blockers, everything will be discussed, including the stakeholders. If you have anything he wants to add, you guys can talk about it. That's what the sprint. So communication is important. You have to communicate with stakeholders, communicate with your team, be able to talk to them, not harshly, in such a way that they understand what you're saying, and in such a way that it hits them in that soft spot in their hearts, right? So you have to be able to read emotions as a project manager, because everyone have a different way of communicating, or a way to communicate with them. The way I will communicate with man A is not the same way you communicate with man B, right? So you have to be able to pay attention to those details. Next is what? Problem solving. As a Scrum Master, you will be able to solve problems. And what does this mean? Proactively identify and resolve team roadblocks and conflicts to maintain progress. There are some times whereby team members will have dispute among themselves, probably two developers, right? This one will say, no, I want to work on I want to use probably this coding method or this framework to work on this project. This one will say, no, I prefer to use this one, and they start arguing on something, right? So you, as the Scrum Master, you have to be able to deliberate. How do you settle this conflict? And how do you do that? Simply hear from the man A, hear from the man B. Oh, what is the issue? What is the issue? And then try to bring them to align at the middle. Okay, oh, this is your reason. This is your reason, right? So fine. Now, why don't we meet at the middle? Tell them, how can we resolve this? Let them provide their own solutions, and then you see a way whereby you guys can come to the middle. So you should be able to solve the problem. Not that you just come and inflate the problem. They say they're having issues. They're coming to shout at them that, why would you guys be fighting in a project and all that, right? You're raking. That is, you're even giving them more reasons to keep the conflict going, right? Because they'll start having issues among themselves. They will not be syncing up. They will not be meshing up, right? So issues will now be coming. You will now be wondering, where is issues coming on? You'll just be shouting. That's where communication, the first one we talked about, is very important, even for the problem solving. And also, you should be able to resolve roadblocks. Probably the teams are facing roadblocks. You should be able to say, okay, oh, what are we doing? You slow down, let these stacks move on first, and then you can go behind it. Right. So that's basically it. So next is leadership. See, you guys have already mentioned most of them. I see we have gurus in the house already. We have gurus already in the house. So we have leadership. So leadership is very important, right? When it comes to managing a team, right? You have to be able to guide self-organizing team, and then fostering an environment of collaboration and accountability. We call project managers and scrum masters, we call them leaders, not bosses. They are not bosses, right? They are leaders. And why are they leaders? Because they lead. Oh, I'll be there for you guys every step of the way. If you guys want to drink water, I'll go and look for the water and give to you. So they will make sure everyone have a seamless environment to work in, just to make sure peace reigns and the project moves seamlessly. So they are leaders. And you have to be one if you truly want to go through this process. So next is emotional intelligence. This is important in even in communications and leadership and problem solving. Emotional intelligence is very, very important. And why is this important? Because it is important in such a way that if you are not able to relate with your team, you will not be able to understand them fully. They will not be able to trust you to come and meet you and say, "Oh, I don't like what the developer A did to me." Right? I don't like what he did to me, or I do not like the way he spoke to me during the call we had in the morning. He spoke to me as if I do not know what I was doing. So you should be able to think, oh, how do I resolve this? How do you de-escalate the issue in such a way that even if the developer hears this, he will not be able to say, oh, so this is what you spoke to me behind my back, right? This is because I was not on the call. This is how you spoke. You spot me and all that. So it is very necessary to always build trust among your team. Build trust and effectively manage team dynamics. The reason why is because it helps to promote positive and productive atmosphere. If everyone is able to align properly, right, the atmosphere is going to be smooth to work in. Everyone will know what they are supposed to do, no challenges from anywhere, and so on, right? Everyone will be able to work seamlessly. And finally, what do we have? We have tools familiarity. As a Scrum Master, you still have some tools that we need to learn. And as I've said before, it is a no-code tool. All these tools we are using in project management as a Scrum Master, no code at all. So what are the tools that I use? These are Jira, Asana, Trello, and so on. We have several others, right? And what are these tools used to do? To understand and utilize projects, project tracking basically. So this is helping us to know how the project is doing, monitor the project. Okay, well, this is how project A is doing, especially when you're working on complex projects. You should be able to track each of those phases, each of those features. So this is why those tools are important, right? And if you come into our program at 10 Analytics, where we do Agile Project Management and Scrum Master, you'll be able to get a lot more experience. You'll be able to get a lot more insights on these tools that are going to be used, or most of the things we've talked about today. Now, let's just go into Jira and see how it looks like. Let me show you guys a bit of a project on Jira. All right, so let me share something else. Okay, so welcome to Jira. This is how a Jira board looks like, basically, right? But the reason why it's looking like this for me is because I already have some taxes here already. I already have some recent projects that I have worked on or I'm working on, right? They are listed here. But today we'll be looking at a simple project or a simple scenario today, which I call profile setup. So to get full understanding of how to set up your Jira, how to create your Jira, how to create projects on Jira, right? You can join our program, right? We'll take you in full step-by-step way on how to basically do all this. And at the end of the program, you'll be able to beat your chest and say, wow, I was able to learn how to use Jira from beginning to end. And one more thing, right? One more thing. We are coming to the world of AIs, right? So now we are now having tools that can be integrated into this Jira and other project management platform to make it easier for us. And even those AIs, we are also going to be looking into them, even when it comes to program with us. That is why I say take the next step. You've taken the step to be here, so take the next step to actually take this course with us, take this program with us, and I can vouch that you will not regret it. So now let's move right into Jira. So we'll be looking at what I call profile setup. So I'll paint the scenario for you guys, right? So imagine you want to open like a social media account. Let's use Facebook, or let's use Facebook or Instagram, one of them. You want to open a social media account, and or probably you want to write a user story. You want to create a process for opening a social media account. How do you do that? You would be able to go through different steps, right? You'll be able to go through your registration steps. You'll be able to go through your user login and everything. There are steps you need to go through. So now what we want to do on Jira is basically a platform. They want to create a platform, right? So they want to write a user story on how the profile setup is going to be like for this feature they want to do, for this app they want to build that looks like a social media app. They want to be able to write the profile setup, right? So now when you come into Jira, there are things you should know, right? And I'll point them out to you, point few of them, right? There are a lot of things to know, but I'll just point few of them, key ones that we're going to be using this evening, right? First of all is when you're on your Jira board, you have your backlog here. This backlog, this is where we have our different taxes, right? Or different issues that we create for the project. We have different issues that are being created in this backlog. And after they are being created in the backlog, and when all the tasks has been created, or when all the issues has been created, you will now start prioritizing them. Okay, which ones do I want to work on first? That's where prioritization comes in. After listing all the tasks for that feature or for that project, you start prioritizing. Oh, I need to work on the user registration first. Okay, let me go with the user login next, and all that. You point all of them out. And when you've gotten the required amount of tasks you want to work on, you've prioritized them, you will now move them to what we call the sprints. Sprint is basically is also used in project management. It's simply where we scale our work. Basically, we help us to is when we talk about iteration, we talked about iteration for project management. So it is a time box iteration, right? So it's a time box system. I call Sprint a time box system, right? That is able to time our work. Oh, we want to use 2 weeks for this project or for this task. So anything you are putting in that sprint, you have a certain amount of time. And when we talk about sprints always last for 1 to 4 weeks. So your sprint can either be a 1 week sprint, or a 2 week sprint, or a 3 week sprint, or a 4 week sprint. That's the maximum. Your sprint can't go more than that. Because when we talk about Agile, what do we say? Agile is iterative, it's time boxed. So we want to be able to finish this before we move on to next. We don't want to take everything and start, oh, let's finish it. Let's start working on everything. No, 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 no. We don't do that. We want to take them step by step, incrementally. So that's why we come up, that's why they come up with the idea of sprints. So when you finish working on the first sprint and you are done with that sprint, you can now create another sprint for the next task to work on. So you can create as many sprints as you want, but it has to be in that time box frame. So if you're using 2 weeks for the sprint, you'll be using 2 weeks all through for each sprint. So first thing first, we first of all create the backlog planning or product backlog. Then we'll now create what we have, the sprint backlog. So when we move all those prioritized tasks we talked about, the ones you've picked from your product backlog, this is what the product backlog is. This one we have here that says 3 work. This is what the product backlog is. So when we've moved all those prioritized tasks we have and we move them to sprints, that is what we call sprint backlog. It will now be known as the sprint backlog, because we now have all our tasks that we want to work on the sprints. So after that, the next thing you want to do is you want to start the sprints. So that's just a tip on how this board looks like. So now let's go back a bit on how to basically create these issues we have on our product backlog. how do we create them? So to create them, you come to the search bar at the top here. At the extreme end, you'll see what we call the create. So all what you need to create an issue, all what you need to do is what? Click on it. And then you will see the project. Project simply means the project you want to create this for. And you see the work type. This work type, I also call it issues. I also call it issues, right? There are different issues. There are different work types in Jira. So the first one we have is story. This is where this is what we use if we want to write user stories. You use the stories because if you want to write it from the user's perspective, don't worry, I will explain the user story when we want to go into it. So this is what we use when we want to write user story. And then when we click on it, you see that we have other work types that are here, which includes what? The tax issues, the tax issues or work type, the bug issues or work type. Then we have the epic. So these are all other ones we have. So now, because we want to use story, I'll just leave it on story. And then this summary. Summary is basically the name. So let's create one we have here. Like let's duplicate it. Let's say we want to create one for what? User registration. User registration. User registration. So we have this created. The next thing we want to do is we want to create. We'll come back to the rest of the details later. The next thing we want to do is click on create. So immediately I click on create, it loads up and then it automatically adds it at the bottom here. It adds it at user registration. But you see that the issue identifier that we have here is 4. So you will not be able to, you might be having question that, how would I know the difference? How would it be able to tell me, because I'm having 2 names, user registration at the top, user registration at the down. What you used to know them is what? The identifier in front of them. We have, all of them have their different identifier, and identifiers cannot be duplicated. So if I create 100 tags, all of them will have their unique identifier. So the unique identifier for this user's registration I created is what? PS4. And what does the PS stands for? It's simply initials for the name of the project, which is what? Profile setup. And the 4 that is there simply means this is the 4th issues product backlog. This is the 4th issue. All right, so that's that. So now let's go to when we want to create our user story. First of all, we need to understand what is a user story. What is a user story? Has anyone heard of user story before? Before we go on, if you have, you can just tell us from your own perspective what is a user story. First of all, who has heard of it? Anyone? Do we have anyone who has heard of the user story and wants to tell us what it means? So I'm waiting. So no one wants to give it a try. All right. Should I take it no one has heard of it? Wow. All right then, no problem. We'll just go on. All right, so I have Fumilayo said she have. So Fumilayo, what do you think a user or do you have an idea? Do you just know it or have you just heard of it or you know what it means? Do you have an idea? Okay. All right, so Fumilayo just said she has heard of it. All right, that's great. So basically, I will explain with a scenario, right? But if you want to give a definition to it, a user story is just a short simple description of a project software feature, or a short description of a story or a feature that is being told from the perspective of the user or the person that wants to use it, or a customer. That's simply what it is. So now let me give a scenario of what a user story or how a user story is. Imagine that you go to a restaurant, right? And you sit down. You are the customer and they want to write your user story. You are the customer, right? So you go in there, you sit down. I tell them, oh, waiter, who is here? You guys should come. I want to place an order. So at that moment, you are the customer, right? You are the user that they want to satisfy in that restaurant. And you go there and say, oh, you guys, I want to make an order. I want to get something to eat, right? And you reach out to them. And the waiter comes to you and she brings a pen and a paper to you. So that pen and paper is simply she ready to write your user story. So she now asks you, what do you want? So now she is the person that wants to create the, let's say she wants to create the future, or she wants to make the food, or she wants to place the order for you. She asks you, what do you want? So now you, from your perspective, you now say what you want. Oh, I want some rice, fried rice, and some jollof rice. I want a turkey, not a chicken. I want a salad. I want a soda by the side also. You've said everything you want. At that moment, what she does is she takes her pen and she starts writing what you want. Oh, he wants fried rice and jollof rice. He wants turkey. He wants some salad and he wants soda. What she did in that situation is what we call she writing your user story. And the piece of paper is simply holding your user story. You are the user they're trying to satisfy. She is trying to write your user story. And then when she finishes writing it, what does she do? She takes it to the people that are going to be making that for you. And they start working on it. So now they are working on your user story. They are processing it. So now I will now move to what I call the acceptance criteria. For me to accept that food at that moment, there must be some criteria that needs to be met. That is where acceptance criteria come in. And the number one criteria is what? It must be fried rice and jollof rice. There must be fried rice and jollof rice in that plate. One, that's one acceptance criteria. Two, there must be salad on that plate. Three, there must be a turkey on that plate, not a chicken. And finally, there must be a soda by the side of it. So these are my user story I've written out, and they have to meet this user story, these are acceptance criteria. These acceptance criteria I listed, they have to be able to meet it before I accept that food they are bringing for me. So now imagine that they now bring the food for me and say, oh, take your food. And when I checked the food, I saw that there was no salad in that moment. What do? I call them back. Oh, this is not my order is not yet complete. Please, you guys should go and work on it. So put that in that scenario here. If they say an acceptance criteria for a tax, if the acceptance criteria is not completed, you have to reach out to people that worked on it. Oh, this acceptance criteria, this part of the acceptance criteria is not working, or you guys did not put this part. Developers, you guys should go and work on it. They will take it back and then work on it. So do you guys understand that? So that's basically how user story and acceptance criteria is. So if they go back and then put salad and they give the food back to you and you see that, oh, your fried rice is here, your turkey is here, your salad is here, your soda is here, you tell them, oh, tick, this is my order. Your user story or what I ordered has been given to me. So they can now tick that user story as being what? Completed. So now let's move to how do we write a user story? So I would go to the fresh one so that we'll see how a user story is being written. How do you write a user story? There is a template for writing a user story, which I call the 3 Ws. I call them the 3 Ws for writing a user story. When writing a user story, the first thing you want to know is what? You have to write it from the user's perspective. And that is where the first W comes in. The first W is what? The who. Who are you writing the user story for? That is where the first W. And next, we'll move to the second W, which is what? The what. That is where they simply ask you, what do you want? That is the action there, the action that is needed to be done. Right? And finally, we now have the last W, which is the why. And what does it simply mean? Is the reason why they want that action, the reason why they tell you, oh, I need you to do this. I need you to give me rice. I need to give me food. Why do you want that? Because I'm hungry and I need to eat. Because I came here to get something to eat. Right? So that is what how to basically write a user story. You write it from the who perspective, write it from the user's perspective, and then you write what the user wants, and then finally the reason why they want it. So now there's a format that has been generated for this to make it easier so people don't waste their time when writing user story. There is a format that has been brought up, right? They call it the format is when you want to write a who, you say you put the who there. So now let's write a user story for this so that I don't just use my mouth to explain. So now this is what we want to write a user story for: user registration. I know all of us must have opened an account one time or another, right? You must have opened an account. Oh, probably you want to create an account for Facebook, you want to create an account for basically anything. You guys must have created an account, but I'll be using social media. So let's just use Facebook for a start, or Instagram. So now the first thing you want to do is what? You have to write a user story for user registration. So if you want to write a user story, you said as a what? As a user. So I put it as what? Description. So I'll just put the title here as what? Description, so that I'll put it as description. So this is just me titling it to make it easier for me. There's not really a big deal, right, for putting description at the top. So it's just me just adding description here. All right. So I highlight this, I make it bold. So now let's move on. As a, who is the person? I put myself, that's the user. What should I call them? As a new user. As a new user. Because okay, let's say as a user, because they are not registered. As a user, right? What do they want to do? What do they want to do? They want to be able to, all right. As a user, you can say as a user, you can say as a new user, anyone, depends on you. Everyone have their different way of writing their description, right? So you can say as a what? New user, because you're trying to come into the app, right? So as a new user, right? Next thing is what? The what? What do they want? That's where you now start with I want. You want to what? When you want to register an account, what does it mean? You want to create an account. Some people will call it create an account. Some people will call it create a profile. Depends on how you want to write it. But you have to start with the as a, you put the who, I want, you put the what you want. I want to create an account, an account, Then now we are done with the what. Now we are done with the what. Now we'll now move to what? To the who. Or to the why, sorry, to the why. Why do they want to create an account? So that's where you start with so that. So you've seen the format now. For the first W, which is the who, you start with as a, you put the who there. The next one is the action, which is the what. And if you want to write the action, you start with I want, you say what you want. And then for the why, you start with so that. So that is the format. And the reason why they use this format is it will make it easier to write a user story. You don't need to crack your head, oh, what do I need to write and all that. So now, as a user, I want to create an account so that I can be able to access the so I'll be able to access the platform. Yes. So this is me. First of all, I put the what? I put the user. Next is what? I put the reason my want, what I want. And then finally, I put the reason why. Now, there's one thing you need to note when writing your user story. And what is this one thing? You should be able to note that when writing user story, it should have just one action. What do I mean by having one action? It simply means you don't have two things under your want. You don't have two things under your want. All right, so what is an example of what I'm trying to say? Imagine you say, as a user, I want to be able to create an account and also log in an account and view my profile. You're already adding three actions there already. First action is what? You want to create an account, you want to be able to log in, and you want to be able to view your profile. That's three actions already in that user story. So if you start having much like that, you are no longer creating a user story. That's no longer a user story because we are now having multiple stories inside already. You're having multiple stories, and this is what it now refers to as what? Epic. Epic. That is another terminology used in project management. So I'll just give a brief meaning. What is an epic? An epic is basically a larger user story. It has, when you have 2-3 user stories under it, that's what is called an epic. So an epic is basically broken down into smaller user stories. So peradventure, we have 3 actions under this. It's no longer a user story again. You have to break it down. It's not an epic. You now have to break it into singular user stories, meaning that each of them should have one action item. I want to create an account, that's one action item. You want to be able to log in, that's another action item. You want to be able to view profile, that is another action item. So after doing that, all of them can now be under a single epic. Probably you name the epic. You can name the epic login process or registration process or something like that. You can name the epic anything. So epic is more like a group name. When you are having 2-3 user stories under that group, that is what we call the epic. It's like a cover cloth that covers more than one user story. So that I'm trying to break it down as easy as possible so that we'll understand each of these terminologies. And as I've said earlier on, if you come to our program, take one of our program or take the Agile Project Management program, you'll be able to get full understanding of this. Elizabeth, you have a question?
Moses, thank you so much. I can see how passionate you are about this. But at this point, you're going to tell them everything that we have in the program. All right. So thank you so much. That was an insightful 1 hour. All right. So for everybody that has listened to Moses, I'm sure we learned a lot today. And if you want to keep learning, this is the reason why you should register for a course here at 10 Analytics. All right. So thank you so much, Moses. Let's not show them our trade secrets just yet.
All right, no problem.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave the
Thank
floor for you
you.
now. Thank you
All
very much.
right. Thank you. So for everyone who can hear the sound of my voice right now, I want us to, put something in the chat. Just put an emoji or a number or a letter. So I know that there are actually people that are still listening to me. All right. So I'm in the chat right now. Thank you, Aureolua. I need like 2 more people. Jenny says, thank you, Moses. Aniton says, this is insightful. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for also joining this session and listening to us. So Moses, you can stop sharing your screen now. All right. So now that we have heard everything that we want to hear or we needed to hear from Moses, I know the question on a lot of our minds right now is, how do I get started? All right. And I mean, like Moses said, you have taken the first step. You have selected the right career path for you. So if you're someone who's looking to, join tech, but you don't want to, get into the coding aspect, this is the best place for you. All right, you're in the right place. So you have already selected the right career path. But it was something Moses, mentioned, at the beginning of the session. He said, why now? Why project management really? And we hear a lot of murmurings around, right, about AI. AI is the future, just like Moses said. And a lot of people are also wondering, right, what is the guarantee that if I become an Agile project manager today, AI is not coming to take my job in the next, in the next year? Or what is even the guarantee that I can get a job as an Agile project manager? So what we do here at 10 Analytics to be able to offer the 8 courses that we offer is, every single year we carry out our internal data analysis to try to make sure that, these courses, these programs, these career paths are still relevant. All right. We want to make sure that there is job security because at the very core of what we do is sustainability. So it's not just training out courses and just teaching people and saying, oh, yes, come and become a Scrum Master. But we also want to make sure that if you become a Scrum Master right now, you have that job stability for the next 5 to 10 years if you choose to remain in that, career path. Now, what do we do every single year? At the end of every year, we scrape different job boards. I'm talking LinkedIn, I'm talking CV Library, I'm talking Monster, Google Jobs, Glassdoor, and the rest of them. Think of whatever job board in your head. We scrape all of them, both the free and the premium job boards across the different regions, right? The UK, the US, and also Canada. And when we scrape these job boards, we look for the jobs with the most frequent listings. So what that means is, for example, let's say we scraped at the end of 2024, and then we found out that, there were in the entire year, in the entire 2024, there were about 24,000 posts for, the job of a project manager. Now, what that would signify is that that is a job that is in high demand. All right. So we did this for all the different jobs out there. And then we carried out our internal data analysis. So we analyzed these, we've got platforms on 3 different criteria. Now, the is the ease learning. So how learn the skills job? So it's when demand, all right, but he wants this job. But how easy is it to learn, especially for people like, you and I, we've been out of the classroom for quite a long time. Speaking for myself, I can't, remember certain things. So how easy is it going to be for me to learn the skills that I need, to land a job, when I'm looking for a job in the US, when I'm looking for a tech job in the UK, and also, in Canada, right? And also, how long is it going to be easy for me to learn this, learn these skills in 6 months, for example, or in 4 months, right? So now, if you have an example of did not, miss, all right, you can quote me anywhere, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Canada, they're all looking for robotics engineers. But is it easy to learn how to become a robotics engineer in 4 months or 6 months? The answer is no, right? You need at least 18 months, right? At least 1.5 years to learn how to become a robotics engineer. And you also need to have some prerequisite knowledge as well. So just by virtue of this first criterion, robotics engineering does not make the list or did not make the cut. So this is how we started to trim down these different job listings that we've gotten from these job boards to make sure that, we are just bringing the best to our participants. Now, the second criterion is ease of transitioning. So how easy is it for you to, transition into this job? Especially for, again, most of us here, we're all adults, right? So a lot of us have prior work experience, in other sectors, right? Some people are coming, from a nursing background, or some people are midwives, right? So how easy is it for you to take some of those skills that you already have, that you have built over the past years, and, just move into a role in tech? So it's not like, your last 5 years or 8 years of experience, is a waste. So if you're a teacher, for example, or you study mass communication, what can you do in tech that would help you leverage what you studied in school, your educational background or your prior work experience? And then finally, we talk about, the reason a lot of us are here today. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, I want to stay relevant. I want to stay relevant. But the reason a lot of us are here today is because of tech money. All right. So we also wanted to make sure that these jobs, have high rewarding salaries. And after conducting this analysis, we came up with these 8 programs that we offer, right? I'm not going to go into the 8 of them. We're just going to focus on the reason we're here today. So Agile Project Management and Scrum Master Professional. But you know what? We didn't stop there. A lot of times when you cook, right, for the chefs in the house, if we have people on here that cook, sometimes you call someone else in the house to come and help you taste the food, to, tell you if the salt is okay or just how it tastes, right? Because, you might not be able to taste it because you're biased. You're the person that cooked it, right? So that's the exact same thing we did here at Analytics. So after conducting this analysis and we got, the result of this analysis, we didn't just want to bring it out there. We wanted to also validate it. We wanted to verify it. So what we decided to do was we decided to seek external validation. All right. We said, you know what? Let's go out there and look for someone who doesn't know Analytics in any way, who has no affiliations with Analytics whatsoever, and hear their take on this matter. And just like that, we found the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum released the Future of Jobs report for 2025. All right. And, like I said earlier, if you stick with me to the end of this session, you'll have access to these slides, right? Because I have a lot of resources linked on this slide so that when you get the slides, you can actually sit down and go over them yourself. All right. So just make sure to fill the attendance form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat so we can send the slides and also the recording of this session to you via email. Now, the Future of Jobs report for 2025 said something very interesting. It said in the next 5 years, I'm talking by 2030, right? 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. In the next 5 years, 170 million jobs will be created, while 92 million jobs will disappear. Now we have a snapshot, right here on my screen of the report. Not to worry, like I said, it's linked on this slide for you. All right. Now you can see on this snapshot, we have 3 different color codes. We have the red blue boxes, and also the green boxes. Now the red boxes signify the number of jobs that will be destroyed in the next few years. The blue boxes signify the stable jobs, while the green boxes signify the new emerging jobs. Now, what you want to do is you just want to make sure whatever it is that you do, you don't find yourself in the red zone. So just try to migrate out of the red zone into the blue zone, or even, the green zone. Now, let's talk about the in-demand career paths. Again, there are a lot on this list, but I'm just going to highlight what speaks to us right now on this session. We have project managers, and not just your average project managers, like Moses rightly said, not just project managers, but agile project managers. All right. Now, the World Economic Forum has highlighted project management as one of the jobs that is going to remain stable, regardless of the advent of AI, right? It doesn't matter if they Deep point, if they bring in ChatGPT version 10, project management is going to remain relevant. All right. So once again, we have the report linked on the slide. So once you get the slide, you can actually go over them yourself. Now, who is an Agile project manager? All right. So Moses took us through, 1 hour of, the day-to-day of an Agile project manager. But what exactly does this person do? All right. And like I said, it was just 1 hour. That is not enough to even just become an Agile project manager, but at least you've been able to see the value, right? You've been able to see all the fun stuff that you can do, as an Agile project manager. And now if you register for one of our courses, you'll be able to learn end-to-end use of Jira, because I could see how fascinated a lot of people were in the chat while Moses was, just walking us through this. So who is an Agile project manager? Now, an Agile project manager is a servant leader who helps the team, work effectively within an Agile framework, ensuring that the project delivers value to the customer through continuous delivery, adaptation, and improvement. Now, let's forget about all of this English, right? We talked about flexibility and the reason why a lot of people are porting, for lack of a better word, from traditional project management to Agile project management: flexibility, iterations, adaptation, and also improvement. And, as an Agile project manager, like Moses said, you're not the boss. You're a servant leader. What that means is, yes, you're the leader, but you prioritize other people above yourself. So you work as, the blocker remover, right? You're the person removing impediments. You're the person, that's asking your team member, oh, Orolua, what's the update on this task? Do you have any blockers? And then Orolua says, I need to pay for this software. I've not subscribed on Jira. I need this for my task. And then the servant leader makes sure to remove that blocker or that impediment for Orolua, just to make sure that she's able to do her job. All right, now let's just look at a little scenario to also sort of explain this, right? Say you want to build a mobile application right now. You have an online business and you want to build something like WhatsApp. Just think about WhatsApp, the chatting feature and all of that to enhance customer engagement for your business. Now, the traditional project management, style, or what we call the waterfall approach, is sort of a sequential process. Now, what this means is a step by step, right? You have to finish one step or one phase completely before you can move on to the next. So you have to start with requirements gathering. Now, even if it's going to take you 5 months to gather requirements, you must finish requirements gathering before you can move on to the next stage. So you start off with requirement gathering, you move on to design, you finish design, you move on to implementation, you finish implementation, you move on to testing. You finish testing, you move on to deployment, and finally maintenance. Yeah, right? And all of this is probably going to take you 7 months or even longer, okay? Because, project management is not linear, right? Yes, on paper, we could just say, it's going to take us 7 months. But when you actually start working on the project, you're going to encounter a lot of issues, risks and all of that you have to mitigate, right? So it could take you longer than 7 months if you were following the waterfall approach. But if you were to follow the Agile approach, right, the Agile process, you could break it down, right? Time-boxed iterations, work in sprints, do your sprint planning, do your continuous development and testing, have frequent releases. It could be every month. It could be every 2 months, just like WhatsApp. You just wake up one morning from a very nice sleep and you open your WhatsApp and you see that, we now have channels. And you're like, what is this? We have channels on WhatsApp, or we can add music on our stories, right? Frequent releases, customer involvement, and finally, adaptability. And if you follow the Agile process for this exact same project, it will probably take you 1 month. So what that means is faster time to market. Right? Because like Moses said, if we were waiting, if WhatsApp decided to wait, if they had not launched, I think 10 years ago, if they had not launched when they launched, right? If they were waiting to include Meta AI, include statuses, include video calls and all of that, we probably wouldn't have WhatsApp today. And, another company would have come up with the same idea and pushed it to the market. So, what this just means is if you follow the Agile approach, right, it means faster time to market. It's easier for you to get your product out there while you are still working on it on the back end. All right. So what do you need to learn to become an Agile project manager? Starter pack, all you need to know. All right. We start off with, introduction to project management methodologies and structure. So what are the different project management methodologies? On this call, you've heard myself and Moses talk about the Agile methodology. That's only one of them. So we have traditional or the waterfall methodology. We have the Agile methodology, and we also have that hybrid approach. Now, it goes just beyond knowing these three, right? But you're also going to be taught how you can identify the best methodology to use on a project, right? Because when you hear methodology, just think of techniques or approaches that you can use for a project. Now, the truth is, in project management, it's not one size fits all, right? You can't use Agile for everything, right? So some projects will require the hybrid approach, which is a combination of projects, Agile methodology and waterfall. Other projects might require the waterfall approach. Now, what we want to make sure is that, wherever you find yourself, whether it's Agile project management, whether it's traditional project management or the hybrid approach, you're properly grounded. All right, then we move on to the project management structure. Now, when we talk about the project management structure, we talk about the life cycle, of a project. What are the phases that your project must go through for you to have a successful project? So I'm talking from the project initiation phase where you're conducting your feasibility study, you're preparing your business case, your project charter. We move on to the project planning phase where you're working on your budgeting. Move on to the project execution where you start to use Jira. Move on to project monitoring and control phase, and finally the project closure phase. Now, it's once again not just telling you all these phases, but also making sure that you're well grounded in all of the documents and activities that needs to be carried out in these individual phases. All right, next we move on to project management skills and communication. So what are some of the skills that you need to have as a project manager? We talked about some of them: leadership, time management, emotional intelligence. Now we're going to do a deep dive into each and every one of them. Those skills that you need to have to become an effective Agile project manager, and also how you can tailor your communication to fit your different audiences. What kind of communication channels do you establish with a stakeholder? For example, the communication channels you establish with a project sponsor will be different from the communication channel you establish with a developer on your team. So understanding the differences and knowing how you can tailor your communication to fit whoever it is that you're communicating with. Next, we move on to foundations of Agile and Scrum. So we're going to go into the Agile methodology, right? What is the Agile methodology? What are the different frameworks we have under Agile? And then we pick the most, popular two, the best two, which is what these global institutions or global organizations are using today: Scrum and Kanban. Then we do a deep dive into both. So making sure that you understand Scrum end to end and understand Kanban end to end as well. So we talk about the Scrum artifact. When I say artifact, I'm talking about your increments, your sprints, your product backlog, like you saw on, Moses's Jira, your sprint backlog, and so on and so forth, right? Understanding the Scrum events, your sprint planning, your daily stand-up, right? Your sprint review, your sprint retrospective, backlog grooming. How do you do all of this? Because I'm sure to a lot of people, it sounds interesting, but it sounds like I'm speaking Latin. So you're actually going to understand how you do everything, how you get from point A to point B. All right. And then we take a look at advanced Scrum and Agile practices. That is part of what Moses was doing tonight, showing us how we can write user stories, how we can break down requirements, gotten from the product owner, and share it with the development team. Next, we talk about end-to-end use of Jira and Confluence in projects. Like you saw earlier today, we're going to be taking you through, from scratch, how you can even create an account on Jira for people that want to install it on their mobile devices, how you can carry out that installation process, and just taking you from beginner to pro, right, when it comes to using Jira, Trello, or Confluence. And then we go into Kanban. So Kanban boards for workflow management, right? Then Agile metrics and reporting. Now, when we talk about Agile metrics, these are metrics that you can use to track the health of your project. How do you know if your project is healthy? How do you know if you're on track, if your project is behind schedule, if your project is ahead of schedule, and so on and so forth? Now, what are the metrics that you want to check for? Metrics that you can also use to check the productivity of your team. I'm talking metrics like your velocity, your lead time, your cycle time, your burn up chart and burn down chart, and all of that, right? Knowing how to generate these reports on Jira, all right, because you're not going to be creating them yourself, right? You're going to be getting them from Jira based on how your team has been working, and also knowing how, similar to communication, how you can tailor this reporting to fit your audiences. What kind of metrics would the project sponsor be interested in seeing, for example? And what type of metrics would the team lead be interested in seeing? So knowing how you can tailor this communication, tailor this reporting and your reporting style to fit your different audiences, you'll also learn that as well. Next up, we move into leadership and real world application. So leadership and management are two very different things. All right. Not a lot of people know this, but they are two very, very different things. But we're going to also be teaching you the both of them and how you can merge them into becoming, an effective Agile project manager. And then when we say real world application, every single thing I've been talking about, from project management methodologies to the project management structure, you're going to be learning them using projects. So you're actually going to be getting your hands dirty, just like Moses did, right? Moses created a user story. Moses had to create a project on his Jira. So you're not just coming to class to, just, come and learn the theoretical aspect or just come to read the textbook, right? You're getting your hands dirty right from your very first live class. Right, you're working on projects, you're working on case studies. So you understand the real world application of every single terminology. You understand the real world application of Scrum, for example, the real world application of Kanban, and so on and so forth. And if you're someone who is also looking, to take professional examinations later on, like your PMP, your PSM, your CSM, your Prince2, your CAPM, and so on and so forth. This program also helps to prepare you for that. So what that means is this program it takes you through the 3 levels you need to become, an Agile project manager, from the beginner level to the intermediate level, and finally, to the advanced level. So we start from, beginner to professional. All right. And now we have, a hybrid learning approach here at Analytics. So it's a blended learning approach, right? We have live classes and we also have self-paced videos, right? Upon registration for any of our programs, upon registration for the project management program, you're added to our learning management system, which is called an LMS, right? Where you have pre-recorded videos from, qualified facilitators such as Moses on there that you can watch, right, on your own. Right now, aside from that, you have live classes. So 2 Saturdays out of 4 Saturdays in a month, you have live classes. Without this what of flexibility to stand on, or working, you have family that you're taking off. This is not like when we're in school where all we have is wake up and go to class, right? So we wanted to make sure that it's flexible for everyone, which is why we spaced it out this way. Now, not to worry, you're not just having 2 live sessions in a month. You're having 2 live classes in a month. And even for the live classes, we have 2 different timelines. So we have the morning class, which is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time or UK time. And we have the evening class, which is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. West African time. All right. What this means is you are able to pick between the morning class or the evening class, depending on your schedule. All right. But the catch is you can only pick one of them. Okay, so if you pick the morning class, you stick with the morning class till the end of the program. And if you pick the evening class, you stick to the evening class till the end of the program. Now, remember, I said you have multiple live sessions, but you only have 2 live classes in a month. Now, we also have other live sessions, that we call drop-in sessions. Now, drop-in sessions are live sessions. You can see the face of your facilitator. You can hear the voice of that person. But the difference now is you can unmute your mic. You can raise up your hand. You can ask questions. Now, this is more of a troubleshooting class or a troubleshooting session, right? So you've been studying, you've been watching your videos, you've been working on some projects that has been assigned to you, and you have some blockers. You're trying to create your user story on Jira. It's just not working out. You just cannot remember certain things. So you can come back to the drop-in session, maybe have Moses as your facilitator or have myself and share your screen and say, Elizabeth, I've been trying to do this on Jira and it's not working. Please, can you tell me where I'm going wrong? All right. So we have those drop-in sessions that happen twice a week. Okay. They're different from the live classes. These happen twice a week on Wednesdays and also on Saturdays when you don't have live classes. All right. And outside of all of this, you're also added to a closed WhatsApp group chat with your facilitator. So what that means is you have 24-hour access to that person. All right. So this is not just your regular online course where you just pay for your course and watch a video and you can spend 10 years, watching that exact video. Now you have someone you can actually ask questions, right? Someone to nudge you, someone you can speak to if you're encountering any issue. And the learning timeline for this course here at Analytics is 8 months. All right, so you have 6 months learning in class and then 2 months of internship with our partner company, Amdari. Now, Amdari is a company registered in the UK. And what are the different careers you can start upon completing this program? Now, just before I get into that, I also want to make sure, I don't have people that are sleeping on this call. So once again, if you can hear the sound of my voice right now, I want you to drop something in the chat. It could be a letter, it could be a number, it could be an emoji. All right, just to also ginger me. Thank you so much, Orolua. That's always the first person to respond. You look like an attentive person. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have Olatunji, we have Adejumo Ayomide, John Chidera, fantastic. So what are the different careers you can start upon completing the program? All right, you can either become a Scrum Master, you can become an Agile coach like myself, you can become an Agile project manager like myself once again, you can become a technical Scrum Master, a Scrum team facilitator, a lean Agile coach, a project coordinator, a lean project manager, and so on and so forth. So what I'm just trying to tell you right now is you're not boxed. It's not like, upon completing this program, you can only work as a project manager. No, you can work as a Scrum Master. You can work as a project coordinator, and so on and so forth. Okay, now what is the strategy that will land you a job in 2025 and even going into 2026? All right, we just finished the first half of the year. A lot of us did aspire to perspire. We had new year, new me. We had a lot of goals at the beginning of the year. And maybe one of those goals, just maybe, one of them was to get into Agile project management. But here we are in July. Okay, but it's not too late. It is not too late for you to start earning, that six-figure salary. What is the strategy that you need to land your job in 2025? The first thing you want to do is you want to learn. The good news is you've taken the first step. You have identified the career path for you. You have chosen project management. Now you want to, immerse yourself in learning. You want to work on projects. You want to work on a lot of case studies. You want to build your portfolio so that you can build that experience. Because personally, I don't believe that they are entry-level roles, right? You could see a posting entry-level Agile project manager. And then when you check the job description, you see 1 year of experience or 2 years of experience. I don't believe in entry-level roles. Every single recruiter out there wants to be able to see that, you don't just know the theoretical aspect of this job. You've actually practiced, you've done this somewhere, and want to see proof. And how do they see that proof? Is via your portfolio. So you want to, immerse yourself in learning for 6 months, here at Analytics. Next, you want to position yourself strategically. And how do you do this? Right? Through your employability skills, which is also something you'll be getting here at Analytics. All right, your CV revamp, your LinkedIn optimization, building your portfolio, having mentorship sessions, having just that hand-holding, right? Because you're getting into unfamiliar terrain. You're moving into something that you've never done before, right? So having someone to hold your hand through the entire process, having someone to prep you for interviews, right? You get an interview invitation from an organization you applied for, and you can book a one-on-one interview preparatory session with myself, Moses, or any of the other, professionals here at Analytics, just to prep you for that interview. Having someone who can give you a recommendation letter when you land your job, and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm going to get into this in the comment slides. But the third thing you need to do is to apply like a machine. All right. Now, when I say apply like a machine, you want to make sure you're doing this with precision. You want to tailor every application. Learn how you can tailor your applications, right? Learn how you can tailor your CV to fit the different, job requirements. Make at least, 10 quality applications per day. So you don't just get jobs by, sitting down in your houses and hoping that it falls down from heaven like manna. All right, God has brought us to you, okay? So now what you just want to do is you want to make sure that at least you're applying to at least 10 jobs every single day. It's a numbers game. That's how you're going to beat the algorithm. All right. And then finally tap into the paid and hidden job markets. Okay. Because a lot of us, we apply to jobs only on the free ones. Oh, LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor. It goes way beyond that. There are a lot of, premium job boards out there, but that is why you have Analytics as well, because we personally pay for and subscribe to a lot of job boards monthly. All right. So you don't have to pay. So what we do is we make sure we scrape those job boards every single week, right, for different jobs, and then send them to you so you can apply, for them. Now, if you can follow this strategy, learn, position, and apply, you will get the job. Tested and trusted. All right. It always seems impossible until it is done. Let's take a look at some success stories. right? Once again, make sure to fill the attendance form that my colleagues are dropping in the chat. All right, so you can click on all of these links and watch these videos. All right, you see real people. So you don't have to take my word for it. You see people that have taken courses here at Analytics and gone on to land jobs. All right, now let's talk about the job offer formula, how you're able to land a job, right? So there is something we call the job offer formula here at Analytics. It's simple mathematics, just addition, right? Your technical skills and your employability skills. Now, we believe that, learning how to use Jira end to end, knowing the project management methodologies or the project initiation phase, and so on and so forth. We believe that's only 50% of what you need to know to land a job. I mean, anybody can know how to use Jira. Anybody can know how to use Trello. Anybody can know how to use Confluence, but how do you stand out? How do you make sure that you're employable, right? Especially in the global market today. And that is where your employability skills come in, which is the other 50% of the equation. Your technical skills alone cannot get you the job. Now you need to be able to, tailor your CV to fit multiple job descriptions, like I mentioned earlier. So the first service on this list is the CV review and revamp. We're going to revamp your CV for you. All right. And now we don't just give you fishes to eat. We also teach you how to fish. So after revamping your CV, we'll also teach you how you can tailor your CV to fit multiple job roles. And then we move on to LinkedIn optimization. So how are you able to strategically position yourself out there on LinkedIn so that you're not the only person applying to jobs? All right. Interviewers are reaching out to you. Recruiters are reaching out to you to say, please, would like to have an interview with you. Personally, I can't remember the last time I applied to a job. All right. These conversations start from LinkedIn. Now, how do you get to that point? Right? Your social presence is very important. So we're going to be teaching you how you can also optimize your LinkedIn so that recruiters come across your LinkedIn, they open it and they say, Oreolua seems like an interesting person. You know what? Let's shoot our shots. Let's try our luck. And they come into your DM, Oreolua, and they say, hi, Oreolua, we have an opening currently at our organization. We don't know if that's something you'll be interested in. If you are, would like to have a conversation with you. All right. So we're going to teach you how you can position yourself on LinkedIn to get those kind of DMs. All right. Next is navigating the job market. Now we bring professionals in the field. We speak to the founder of Analytics, Adeza Suleiman, the co-founder. We also make sure to bring, people that have just, for lack of a better word, graduated, from Analytics, people that have passed through this same program, like yourself. They came in as newbies and they finished their programs and landed jobs. We bring them back to, the classroom to speak to you, give you tips on how you can navigate the job market. Hey, here is something that I did just, January 2025, I was in your position, but, here are the things I did that helped me land the job on time. Or here are the mistakes I made so you don't make them too. So you are learning from people that have actually walked the talk. All right. Next, we move into interview preparatory sessions. Like I said earlier, we are always available, all right, to prep you for interviews, right? Conduct a mock simulation with you, right? Just to make sure that we're telling you, oh, these are the kind of questions you should expect in this interview. This is how you should answer this question. If they ask you, these are the frameworks you should use, just to boost your confidence for the actual interview with that organization. Now, if you land a job and they need a recommendation letter, you have Analytics once again as well. So we are also available to provide recommendation letters or reference letters to you to help you secure that six-figure job that you want. Now, the sixth service is the least popular service that we have, but it's still there. Okay, it's on the job support. Very unpopular because, a lot of people, after spending 8 months, 6 months of immersive learning and then 2 months of internship, they don't need any support. But we still have that offer open just in case. So you land your job, your very first job as a Scrum Master, as an Agile project manager, as a Lean project manager. And, that first month, you're still a bit shaky. You don't exactly know. You get some tasks, you don't know how to go about them. Not to worry. You can always come back to us here at Analytics, book a one-on-one session with a professional, and we'll provide guidance on how you can do that. So we support you on your job. Now, we don't do the task for you, but we'll show you how you can, do that. Number 7 on the list is weekly mentorship sessions. Like the name implies, it happens every week. We have, mentors that come in here just to hold your hand, tell you different things, teach you how you can answer interview questions using like the SIT approach, the STAR approach, and so on and so forth. And finally, last but not the least, we have the Upwork optimization session. So for people that are interested in freelancing, the way we optimize your LinkedIn profile, we'll do the same for you on Upwork as well. Now, a lot of people, are out there in the world right now, in the UK, in the US, in Canada, thriving after their training here at Analytics. So let's take a look. If you joined the session at the very beginning, you must have seen a lot of testimonials playing in the background. All right, so I'm not going to do a deep dive into all of these testimonials because we have a lot. We can have an entire 10-hour session dedicated just to testimonials because, like I said earlier, we have been able to help over 3,000 people transition, into tech, right? But once you fill the link to the attendance form and you get the slides, you can actually look at all of these, videos because they're all linked here, okay? You can watch all of them at your own time. So let's take a look at Lois, for example. Lois was an accountant and a procurement professional with zero experience in tech. And she joined our business analysis training program and she secured a job as a project manager in the UK after completing her training. All right, we have a lot of them. We have Ngozi, we have Ololade, we have Bukola. So many of them that I'm not going to get into, right now. All of them are linked here. Now, let's take a look at Esther. Esther joined the Agile Project Management Program in April, all right? And just last week, she got a contract manager role in the UK, 4 months into the program. So yes, in as much as we heard that, the program, the timeline is 8 months, that doesn't mean you have to wait till the end of the 8 months to actually land a job. Be like Esther that got a job 4 months into the program. Some people have gotten jobs 3 months or 5 months into the program. You can see she says, "Good afternoon, I got the job." The interview prep alone. So Esther is someone I prepped personally, okay? And she got the job 4 months into the program. So if Esther can do it, you can do it as well. All right, so let's just gloss over this. All right, and like I said, we have the testimonials linked here. So if you've been listening to me up until this very moment and you are ready to start, we have our next cohort coming up on the 9th of August. So next month, you can join the next cohorts. Now, we have an early bird discount going right now. The Agile Project Management Program is priced at $900 but for the first 20 people to register, you get to pay $750 instead. That's a whooping $150 taken off. All right. And the good news is you can also pay in installments. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. The link to the enrollment center is also, on this slide. So once you get the slide, you are able to access that. So let's take a look at the Analytics Enrollment Center. Now, this is what it looks like. All right. So what you want to do is you want to scroll down and then identify the program you're going for. For us on here, it's, Agile Project Management. So you click on register for Agile Project Management and it opens up the payment plan for you. All right. So now the good news is there is a geolocation tag on this site. So what that means is wherever you are in the world and you click on that link, you see the price displayed in your local currency. So if you're in Nigeria, you see the price in Naira. If you're in the UK, you see it in pounds. If you're in the US, you see it in USD. If you're in Canada, you see it in CAD and so on and so forth. All right, so you just see the equivalent of the discounted price in your local currency. So you don't have to worry about trying to, convert your money. All right, now remember I said this discount is only available for the first 20 people. Right now on my screen, you can see that we have 18 seats available. What this means is 2 people have already secured their slots, for the August cohort using the discounted price. So you want to be amongst them. And if you're in the UK, you see the payments plan here, okay? And you're able to split your payments for as many as 5 times. So you can either pay once, you can pay 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times, depending on your financial capabilities. So for the sake of this presentation, I'll pick the 5 monthly payments and click on secure your seats. Now, what it shows you is, you're going to be charged £123 every month for the next 5 months. So it says you have £123 due today. You have £123 due exactly 1 month from now, exactly 2 months from now, 3 months from now, and so on and so forth. So what this means is you can actually start the training while you're still making, your payments in tranches. All right. Now, once you make your payments, you you want to take a screenshot of your receipt or the email that you get, all right? And come back to the main site here and click on upload your receipts. So you come back to the main site, click on upload your receipts. And, once you do that, a rep from 10 Analytics will reach out to you and go about making sure you get into class for August. All right. So just remember that the discount is slot based and not time bound. All right. So if we have 18 people, because I can see we have a lot of people on the call right now. If we have 18 people from this call register for this program tonight, the discount immediately ends and the pricing for the program reverts back to $900 US. So if you're looking to save a little money, all right, save $150, please go ahead to make sure that you register as soon as you can. And that's not all. If you'd also like to have a one-on-one conversation with myself or someone on the team, right, you need extra clarity. Not to worry, just go ahead to secure your slot and just, on this, side here where you have to upload your receipt, click that you want to speak to a professional, all right? And we can have a one-on-one discussion. But remember, secure your seat as soon as possible. Right now in the world of tech, it is grab your copy now. All right, so we still have quite a lot on the slide that I'm not just going to get into. Remember, the discount is for the first 20 people. Just make sure to fill the attendance form, click on the link to enroll. And if you'd like to have a one-on-one discussion with me, I am always available as well. Just make sure you secure your spot first. Now we have so much, so many resources linked on this slide for you to go over once you, fill the attendance form. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me tonight. I'm just going to take a look at the chat to see if I have any questions. Okay, no questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Like I said, my colleagues are already dropping the link to the enrollment center in the chat. Make sure to secure your slot as quickly as possible. So I'm going to take one question. Go ahead, Confidence. You can type out your question so I can answer that as well. All right, Josiah, I can see your hand up. Please use the chat box. Type in your question. I'm just going to take as many questions as I can. We have 4 minutes. All right, 4 more minutes before the end of this session. So type out your question and I will do well to answer it. But like I said, if I can't take your question on this session, just fill the link that my colleagues are dropping and we can have a one-on-one discussion. Christian says no 3-month internship. So no, our internship is for 2 months. But remember that from your very first life class, you're already working on projects. Okay, so even during the 6 months, for example, Esther got a job 4 months into the program. Esther has not even started her internship yet, and she's already landed a role. So no, you don't need 3 months, for your internship. Okay, so we have 2 months of internship and 6 months of immersive learning in class. All right, so I'm not getting any more questions in the chat. Just make sure to fill the link. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Please enjoy the rest of your day and bye for now. Okay. I see Confidence. Confidence, I see your question, but we're out of time. So make sure to fill the attendance form so that we can have a one-on-one conversation. All right. Thank you, everybody. And please enjoy the rest of your day.